What if there were no filters? No silence between what you think and what the world hears? What if every thought in your mind, every doubt, every fear, every impulse, played out loud for everyone around you? At first, it sounds terrifying, and maybe it should. Because the truth is, our thoughts are not as polished as our words. They are raw, unedited, sometimes kind, sometimes cruel, sometimes logical, often emotional. So today, let's explore a powerful question. What if everyone could hear your thoughts? The end of privacy. The first thing we would lose is privacy. No inner monologue, no safe mental space, no place to process emotions quietly. Every insecurity would be exposed, every intrusive thought would be public, every unspoken judgment would echo into the world. Suddenly, silence would no longer protect us. We would realize something uncomfortable very quickly. Most people are not hiding evil thoughts. They're hiding vulnerable ones. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. Relationships would change instantly. Think about your closest relationships, your family, your friends, your partner. If they could hear your thoughts, love would become brutally honest. Every moment of doubt, every flicker of jealousy, every comparison you never admitted to making. Some relationships would collapse under the weight of truth. Others might deepen in ways we can't imagine, because beneath misunderstandings, there is often love, just poorly communicated. But hearing thoughts would remove excuses. You could no longer say, "I didn't mean it, you thought it, and everyone heard it." Society without masks. Modern society runs on masks. We smile when we're exhausted. We say, "I'm fine," when we're not. We hide anger behind politeness. If thoughts were audible, those masks would disappear. Meetings would be chaos. Small talk would vanish. Honesty would be unavoidable. But so would empathy. Because once you hear the fear behind someone's anger, or the insecurity behind someone's arrogance, it becomes harder to hate them. The problem of intrusive thoughts. This is where the idea becomes complicated. Not every thought in our mind represents who we truly are. The human brain is constantly producing thoughts, and many of them appear without permission. These are called intrusive thoughts. They can be strange, violent, inappropriate, or completely irrational. Most people never act on them, and many people are disturbed by the fact that they even exist in their minds. If everyone could hear our thoughts, we would be judged for ideas we never chose to think. A random thought could appear for a second, and suddenly people might believe it defines our character. That would be deeply unfair, because thoughts are not always beliefs, and they are not always intentions. The mind often tests ideas without agreeing with them. This would force society to face a very uncomfortable question. If a person thinks something wrong but never acts on it, should they still be judged? Should morality be based on thoughts or only on actions? If we start punishing people for what passes through their minds, no one would be innocent. Everyone has dark, confusing, or unwanted thoughts at some point. In that world, humanity would have to learn an important truth. Having a thought does not mean you support it. It would challenge how we define guilt, responsibility, and identity. And it might finally teach us that the mind is not always under our control, but our actions are. The death of lying. In a world where everyone could hear your thoughts, lying would become impossible. There would be no more white lies to protect feelings, no hidden intentions, and no silent manipulation. Every thought would reveal the truth before words could even be spoken. The idea of pretending would simply disappear. Politics would change overnight. Leaders could no longer promise what they didn't believe or hide their true motives behind speeches. Marketing would struggle to survive because advertising depends on shaping perception, not always truth. Social media would lose much of its power because carefully crafted images and fake confidence would no longer work when real thoughts are exposed. In this world, authenticity would no longer be a personal choice. It would be a requirement. People would be seen exactly as they are, not as they want to appear. That reality would feel terrifying at first because truth makes us vulnerable. But at the same time, it would be freeing. There would be less pressure to perform, less fear of being found out, and more space to simply be human. Creativity and chaos. Imagine the creativity in a world where thoughts could be heard. Ideas would flow freely, art would be raw and unfiltered, and innovation would move faster without fear of judgment. People would no longer worry about sounding strange or being misunderstood. But with that freedom would come chaos. Millions of minds thinking at once would create constant mental noise. Ideas would clash, overlap, and interrupt each other. In such a world, silence would become rare and precious. Moments of quiet would feel like safety, and the ability to escape the noise, even briefly, would become the most valuable resource of all. Would we become kinder? Here's the real question. If everyone could hear your thoughts, would you think differently? Most likely, yes. You would become more careful with your inner world, more aware of your biases, more responsible for your mental habits. Kindness wouldn't just be something you do, it would be something you practice internally, because cruelty would no longer hide in silence. The power of self-awareness. Even though no one can hear your thoughts, they are constantly shaping your life. Every idea and feeling influences how you treat others, how you see yourself, and the choices you make. Your thoughts are like seeds. They grow into actions, habits, and decisions that define your future. Your mind is always speaking, even in silence. By becoming aware of your thoughts, you gain the power to pause, to choose kindness over anger, patience over frustration, and understanding over judgment. Though invisible, your thoughts have real impact, and mastering them is one of the most powerful ways to create the life you truly want. The final reflection. So maybe the question isn't, what if everyone could hear your thoughts? Maybe the real question is, what if you listen to them more carefully yourself? Because awareness changes everything. And when you learn to guide your thoughts with intention, the world you create, inside and out, becomes quieter, kinder, and more honest. And that's a glimpse into a world where everyone could hear your thoughts. It's a scary idea, but also a chance to think about the power of our minds, our actions, and our choices. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more thought-provoking stories and ideas. And don't forget to comment below. What would you do if everyone could hear your thoughts? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.